Retired Marine Robert McCall now works at a hardware store. He has a good relationship with many of his colleagues and helps one of them, Ralphie, prepare to pass the fitness test to become a store security guard. Robert reminds him that he needs to lose weight for this. Because of insomnia, Robert often visits a 24-hour diner and reads books. Today, he's reading The Old Man and the Sea. A waitress asks if the protagonist of the book catches the fish. McCall exchanges a few words with her as she finishes her dessert and heads out to hail a taxi. When his colleagues ask him about his previous job, Robert jokingly replies that he was a backup dancer for a famous band. The next night, McCall meets the same waitress at the diner, and they continue their conversation about the book. A limousine stops outside, honking. The young woman receives a call from her pimp, Slavi, who tells her a client is waiting. She wants to decline, saying the client is a pig, but Slavi insists, and she reluctantly meets the obese man from the car. During the day, Robert trains Ralphie, and at night he treats the waitress to a donut and notices a bruise under her eye. She sits down at McCall's table and introduces herself as Terry. Later, she admits that her real name is Alina. The two connect warmly, and she decides to give Robert a CD with recordings of her songs to get his opinion. As they continue chatting on the street, a car suddenly pulls up and Slavi and his bodyguard Tavi get out. Slavi slaps the girl for mistreating a client. Robert wants to intervene but notices the gun in Tavi's hand. Slavi gives McCall a business card with a number to call 4 hot girls. The next night, when Robert returns to the diner, the owner informs him that Alina is in the ICU after being severely beaten. At the hospital, Robert sees Mandy, another prostitute, near the injured patient. Introducing himself as Alina's acquaintance, he learns from Mandy that Slavi brutally beat the girl for daring to stand up to a client. The vicious pimp even threw acid at another girl's face to scare the others. Robert looks at the business card Slavi gave him and decides to pay him a visit. McCall enters a private room at a restaurant where Slavi and his thugs are relaxing. He offers the pimp $9,800, all his savings, for Alina's freedom. Slavi initially agrees, but only for a month, and then angrily tells Robert to take his money and leave. Robert heads to the door but changes his mind, locking it from the inside. He quickly scans the thugs, their weapons, and nearby objects he can use in a fight. Setting a timer on his watch, Robert grabs the first thug's arm, making him shoot Slavi in the neck. In 19 seconds, the veteran kills all 5 thugs using their own weapons. After this shocking massacre, a high-ranking Russian gangster, Teddy Rinson, arrives in Boston to investigate and punish the perpetrators. The Russian Mafia enlists corrupt local cops led by Detective Frank Masters to assist. At work, Robert learns Ralphie has quit. Visiting his colleague at home, Robert discovers Ralphie is helping his mother rebuild her diner after a fire and has temporarily shelved his dream of becoming a security guard. Frank takes Teddy to a local gangster, Johnny Looney. Johnny insults the Russian Mafia, enraging Teddy, who brutally beats him while Frank kills Johnny's goons. Meanwhile, Robert investigates the fire at Ralphie's mother's diner. He uncovers a ring of corrupt cops extorting small businesses in the area, threatening them with fires like the one at the diner. Robert records their extortion on video and offers the dirty cops a chance to make amends. When they refuse, Robert uses force to make them return all the stolen money and stop their extortion. Soon after, Ralphie returns to the store and successfully qualifies as a security guard. Teddy interrogates Mandy and learns that a polite black man visited Alina at the hospital. Furious, Teddy kills Mandy. At the store, Robert notices a man threatening cashier Jenny with a gun, demanding all the money. The robber also insists Jenny hand over her ring, a treasured keepsake from her mother. McCall calmly helps Jenny remove the ring while memorizing the thief's tattoos and clothing details. As the thief flees, Robert follows him outside and notes the car's license plate. Police inform Robert that this robber has committed 4 similar heists. Robert takes a sledgehammer from the store. The next morning, Jenny finds her ring back in the cash register. Robert wipes down the sledgehammer before returning it to the shelf. Teddy identifies Robert through surveillance footage from the restaurant and visits his home, posing as a cop. Robert calmly handles the interrogation, fully aware Teddy isn't law enforcement and realizing a hunt has begun for him. The corrupt cops find no incriminating information about McCall in their databases. He appears to be an ordinary citizen. Teddy and Frank watch from a car as their henchman enters the diner to capture Robert. However, McCall kills the thug within seconds, although he sustains a leg injury. Disabling the lights by sticking a knife into an outlet, Robert takes a photo of Teddy and Frank in their car before disappearing. Robert knocks out a pursuing corrupt cop and evades his trackers. Back home, he treats his wound with boiling honey and leaves before the gangsters storm his apartment. Using hidden cameras and microphones, Robert observes everything happening in his apartment. However, Teddy realizes they're being watched. Robert turns to his former CIA colleagues, Susan and Brian Plummer. Susan provides information on the attackers. It turns out Robert killed several high-ranking members of a Russian crime syndicate. Their leader, Vladimir Pushkevich, whose real name is Teddy Nikolayachenko, was once a skilled Spetsnaz operative and is now Pushkevich's right-hand man. The corrupt cops extorting local businesses also worked for the gang. Teddy recently killed the two dirty cops. Robert captures Frank, locks him in his own car, and forces him to cooperate by exposing him to exhaust fumes until he agrees. Frank takes Robert to one of Pushkevich's money laundering locations. The veteran quickly takes down the gangsters, hands out bonuses to the workers, and calls the police. From Frank, Robert learns where he's hiding incriminating evidence against the mob. Robert retrieves the flash drive containing vital information. When the police arrive, they find Frank tied up and the gangsters surrounded by piles of cash. Robert kills one of Pushkevich's associates in a restaurant and sits calmly next to Teddy, warning him he'll dismantle their empire if they continue targeting him. The veteran sends the flash drive's incriminating data to the FBI, exposing bribes to numerous senators and congressmen. The drive also contains information about Pushkevich's smuggling ship. After McCall blows up the tanker, Pushkevich orders his death. Gangsters take Ralphie and other store employees hostage, threatening to kill them unless Robert surrenders. The thugs track him to a bus, but are tricked when Robert disembarks early. He lures one thug to the security post and breaks his neck. The second is fatally struck with a fire extinguisher as Ralphie leads the hostages to safety. Robert locks the doors and disables the main lights. One thug is hung with barbed wire, while another has his neck pierced by a blade. Teddy wounds Robert in the leg, but is ultimately defeated when Robert drives nails into him using a nail gun. 3 days later, McCall travels to Russia and infiltrates Pushkevich's estate. He confronts the crime boss in the shower, announcing he's come for his head. Pushkevich offers money for his life, but Robert simply walks away. As the crime boss grabs a gun, he's electrocuted to death. All of his guards are found dead. Robert returns to Boston and reunites with Alina, who has recovered, found a respectable job, and started reading books. Before parting, Alina kisses McCall on the cheek. Inspired, Robert decides to help others, posting offers online. When a stranger asks for help, Robert agrees to assist. What do you think of The Equalizer? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.